It's really happening. The OT Skydrone Company of Saudi Arabia has recently shared a video which shows that the excavation of Neom city has finally begun. The teams have wholeheartedly joined their heads together to work on their prince's dream, and despite facing a lot of skepticism, they have kept their spirits high. This new video shows updates on the construction work, and now that we see it too, the idea doesn't seem so impossible after all. Or does it still? Keep watching to find out what Saudis have in store for us and what experts think about the whole thing. We have already covered in our previous video how Neom, designed in a perfectly straight line, features two 106 miles long buildings running across desert, coast, and mountains. In the northwest province, Tabuk, of Saudi Arabia near the Red Sea, the government has unveiled a scheme to house at least 9 million people in a way that has never been done before. However, even with all its aerial shots and the site's 3D visuals, the idea of sustainable living inside a mirrored line is as abstract as it can get. Ever since the proposal's announcement, the skeptics have been involved in long debates and controversies over the issue of its practicality with dogmatists. However, whether or not the project would be completed, we have to respect the absolute audacity of Saudi government to undertake a project so gigantic that it would most likely disrupt the surrounding ecosystem. The utopian city is a piece of art in itself. As per the plans, it may be only 200 meters wide, but it is 500 meters above sea level. Its residents are never more than a 5-minute walk from anywhere, and for end-to-end transit, there is a high-speed underground rail that takes 20 minutes to cover the whole city. There are no cars, just disc-shaped devices hovering in the air, an artificial moon, and beautiful cascading waterfalls from point to point. The renders also boast apartments, offices, and restaurants stacked vertically above each other. The progressive design, uninterrupted access to surrounding green and yellow landscapes, and its zero-carbon feature make Neom City the first of a kind. This futuristic, reflective glass green city certainly seems something out of a movie. When the idea was first announced by the Saudi prince, it immediately caught everybody's attention, but as the renders kept on getting weirder, people thought it was just another media event staged by the government to get publicity. However, the construction has now begun, and critics are coming around to see what is happening on site. While drone footages only show vague outlines of the city, the enthusiasm and work speed is causing antagonists to reevaluate their theories. The video revealed by the OT Sky shows a great number of hydraulic-operated excavators trenching in the desert. The earth-moving vehicles can be seen making long reaches along the desert by starting at the top and working their way down in layers to make space for the line's foundation. Even though the drone footage shows outlines extending very far inland, we cannot at this point in time determine the exact distance of these lineaments. So far, the infrastructure around the line consists of different office communities, mountain camps, and a city community with football fields and swimming pools. Experts speculate from aerial photos that the excavated land is somewhere between 10 and 20 kilometers. There is also a Neom's Experience Center. Reportedly, this Neom Center is for enabling first-hand learning about the project. People will receive an in-depth view of Neom's vision and its sectors. Keep in mind that this is what we have gathered from revealed reports and recent Google Maps. Considering how speedy the construction is, who knows what else the team has already built on site? Even critics are admitting that this might be the coolest project ever. Now let's delve deeper into the concept of Neom City and discuss some possible risks associated with construction of such a big project. 1. Construction materials. even if we don't care about the carbon emissions involved in the manufacturing process, we cannot ignore the fact that our Mother Earth does not have unlimited supply of materials. The construction of Neom's one side of buildings alone is sufficient to create a black hole in the construction materials market. 2. Manpower. The Neom project requires a lot of workers, and since the country itself does not have enough manpower, it relies greatly on overseas construction workers. We have already covered in our previous video how expatriates feel about the project's overall work environment. Now, let's just say they are not too eager to work there. 3. Funding. You might think that the government has an unlimited supply of finances, but that is not the case. Countries around the world are shifting to other energy alternatives to diversify out of oil. The Saudis, whose economy is basically oil industry, understand that the per capita demand of oil would likely go down, and so would the country's GDP in near future. In the past, the country was able to carry out large-scale construction projects only when the oil prices increased between 2012 and 2015. It put those projects on hold when the prices fell. Therefore, the prince needs to be careful with how he spends the money. The project could either become his golden pyramid or forever be abandoned, like the Hashima Island of Japan. Another issue for engineers is of earthquake activity assessment in the area. As the building height increases, it becomes more vulnerable to especially large and long-period earthquake waves. What do you think might happen to a structure taller than the Empire State Building? To make matters worse, recent researches reveal that the areas like the Gulf of Aqaba and the southern end of Suez also have a higher seismic activity. High seismicity in an area calls for a detailed earthquake assessment and an increased number of precautionary measures to minimize and mitigate the earthquake losses. For the world's tallest and thinnest structure, winds would make another interesting topic for engineers. While it is only natural to let skyscrapers sway a little at such heights, this would not be a big problem in this case. The structure is basically paper-shaped, and trends show that winds would flow along the direction of line for most part of the year. Still, engineers need to account for across wind directions in their design. Therefore, a stiff backbone to resist tremendous wind forces without endangering the structural integrity or the occupants' lives should be among top priorities for the designers. We must also not forget to look into the carbon footprint of construction and its effect on the surrounding ecosystem. The 100-mile-long and 1,400-foot-high line would interfere with the native species' normal paths of migration, and there would be a high collision risk for birds since most species cannot tell mirror from real. They view mirrors as an extension of true environment and are therefore likely to fly right into such surfaces. This results in serious damage and even death in most cases. Now just image how dangerous this project would be for other species. Design scientists and biofuturists are also concerned about introducing non-native species into the local environment. Invasive species, such as disease-causing mosquitoes with no natural predators nearby, could very easily decimate an entire population of plants and animals in no time. Therefore, from feasibility point of view, it is not really possible to create an artificial ecosystem just like that. Last but not least, people are afraid that the city would basically be a dystopian nightmare. The higher-ups would control every aspect of an individual's life, and the monotonous, prison-like environment would compromise mental health of its residents. Therefore, despite having fast transport links, the lack of variety would not only be boring but also scary. So, is it still a good idea to carry on with this mega project? Napoleon Bonaparte said, and I quote, "With audacity, one can undertake anything but not do everything." So what do you think about the Line City? Let us know in the comments below. Also, subscribe to our channel for both follow-ups of this mega project and news about other interesting projects happening around the world.